Hello and welcome to Bust or Trust, a kids' mystery podcast. I'm Tiernan.
And I'm Athena. We unravel the world's greatest mysteries with help from you, our chief detectives.
We present 3 pieces of evidence and then it's up to you to decide. Which team will you be on this week?
Are you a myth buster like me?
Or are you a myth truster like me? We look into some very strange stories from around the world. No mystery is too big for us. Like if humans have 50% of the same DNA as bananas, why don't we fall over ourselves more often?
It's not 50% of the same DNA, it's 50% of the same genes. That's very different.
Oh, I see. Wait, hang on. Bananas don't have 2 legs. What do they need genes for?
Oh, Tiernan, I think you might have more in common with a banana than most other people.
Charming. We'll let you know at the end of the show just how to get in touch, and you can tell us if you're on Team Buster or the best one, Team Truster.
So, Chief Detectives, it's time to start putting together your case. But first, we have a quick word for the grown-ups.
The case.
Athena, how do you feel about mermaids?
I think there's something fishy about them.
Very funny. Though, actually, that was very good.
Oh, thank you. But seriously, though, I just don't even understand how it would work having a fish tail instead of legs.
Me either. And do you think if they have the bottom half of a fish, that they do those very, very long poops like goldfish do? Because that really ruins the image of those beautiful mermaids with long flowing hair.
Blah, that's horrible. This isn't what we're talking about on today's episode, is it, Tiernan?
No, of course not. We are taking a deeper dive into mermaids, the legendary sea creatures that I'm sure many of our chief detectives will have heard of before. A mermaid has been pictured with having the upper body of a human, just like you, with arms and a face, but instead of legs, they have a long, shimmering fishtail.
Correct, Tiernan. People from different parts of the world have told stories about mermaids for a really long time. In these stories, mermaids are often thought to be super beautiful and have long, flowing hair. Some say they can sing the most enchanting songs.
For example, like this. Get your ears ready. I'm a mermaid in the sea with my love.
Stop, Tiernan, stop, please stop. You're too close to me to be singing like that. Okay, only when I'm outside the room. Oh, I don't think anyone's ears could be ready for those noises. I'm not sure that sort of singing would enchant anyone, but it might ward them away.
Hey.
Mermaids are said to live in the deep, mysterious oceans and seas in special underwater places. Some stories say they're friendly and kind, while others suggest they might have a mischievous side.
The idea of mermaids goes way back to ancient times. Greeks told tales about sea nymphs and sirens, and other cultures like Arabic and Hindu have their own stories about similar magical beings.
There are lots and lots of stories, films and musicals about mermaids. The most famous was Hans Christian Andersen's The Little Mermaid, which Disney turned into a film. But even though most people around the world know what mermaids are, there's no proof they have ever actually existed.
Until now.
Oh, I'm not so sure about that. But as always, it's up to our chief detectives to decide. Do mermaids exist or not?
Well, I think they'll see any fin, get it? Any fin is possible once you've heard the evidence. On to piece of evidence number 1.
First piece of evidence.
The first piece of evidence is, like you mentioned in your facts, Athena, that there have been stories about mermaids for thousands of years, and in so many cultures around the world. So, if everyone is talking about mermaids, surely they must exist. For example, one of the earliest tales is a legend from Syria, a country in the Middle East, dating back to 1000 BC. The tale goes that the goddess of moon and water, Atargatis, dove into the water to take the form of a fish. But the other gods wouldn't allow her to give up her beauty, so only her bottom half became a fish and her top half remained the same. Images of Atargatis as a mermaid have been found by archaeologists on temples, statues and coins.
Oh, those gods don't sound very nice. If she wants to be a fish, they should have let her be a fish.
I agree. It's no good being only half a fish, is it? You can't swim properly or wear trainers. Also, Athena, in Britain and Ireland, there are many old folk tales about mermaids dating back thousands of years. Sometimes the stories describe the mermaids as mean and dangerous, and other times the tales are about mermaids saving lives or falling in love with humans. The earliest mermaid image that's been found in Britain is in Durham Castle in the northeast of England, which was built about 1078 AD. Inside the Norman chapel, there is a carving of what looks like a mermaid. And join me on a little trip across the globe, Athena, because mermaids make appearances in Germanic stories too. And in Scandinavia, they called mermaids Hafru. Southeast Asia has mermaid stories, as does Eastern Europe, India, China, and several countries in Africa, including Zimbabwe. They called mermaids Nyuzu in Zimbabwe, and they are believed to be angry creatures who get blamed for unexpected misfortunes like bad weather. In Australia, Indigenous peoples have passed down a captivating story for many generations about a sea creature known as the York that can influence the weather. Just like a mermaid, the York has a human-like appearance, but with a unique twist. Her hair is made of seaweed. Imagine how tricky it must be for her to comb.
Yeah, imagine getting the tangles out of that. Oh, and the sea snails. Tiernan, that is a lot of mermaids around the world, and the folklore is fascinating. But how does that prove mermaids exist? People have always told stories about mythical creatures.
True, but how can so many cultures all around the world, dating back thousands of years, all come up with exactly the same creature? A woman with a fishtail. There must have been a reason they all thought of mermaids. Could seeing real mermaids have inspired them?
Lots of myths and stories have creatures that are part human, part animal. Look at ancient Egypt with the Sphinx, who is a giant cat with the head of a woman. Or in India, the supreme god Ganesha, who has the head of an elephant. In various cultures, it's quite common for people to imagine hybrids, which are creations blending elements from different things. Since people and fish exist everywhere in the world, it's not surprising that similar ideas popped up in the imaginations of different cultures around the globe. And even though stories of mermaids have been told for thousands of years, people have travelled across the seas for even longer. These tales could well have been passed on by merchants and sailors, taking on different forms when they were told by different people. It doesn't mean that mermaids are real.
All very good points, Athena, but even if stories don't prove mermaids are real, piece of evidence number 2 just might wave your suspicions goodbye. Wave? Get it? Wave?
Second piece of evidence.
Piece of evidence number 2 is sightings of mermaids across the globe by some very famous historical figures. Pliny the Elder was a Roman author and philosopher who wrote what is thought to be the very first ever encyclopedia. An encyclopedia is a book that gives information on a wide range of subjects. In Pliny the Elder's book called Natural History, he wrote that a merman was seen off the coast of Lisbon in Portugal, and just days earlier a mermaid in the same place. He said that they weren't smooth-skinned but had scales all over their body. Around the same time when Gaul, a region in Western Europe, was under Roman rule, the governor of Gaul wrote a letter to the Roman Emperor Augustus. In this letter, the governor reported an unusual event. Multiple mermaids had been found washed up on the shore. Another famous sighting was by Christopher Columbus, the explorer, who is believed to have discovered America. It was 1493 and Columbus had set off on his long voyage. As the boat sailed round the coast of Spain, Columbus and the crew spotted something very strange. There were not 1, not 2, but 3 mermaids, except these mermaids were not as beautiful as the explorer had been told. Columbus wrote, "On the previous day, when the admiral went to the Rio del Oro, he said he quite distinctly saw 3 mermaids, which rose well out of the sea. But they are not so beautiful as they are said to be, for their faces had some masculine traits." Like the stories, as mentioned in piece of evidence number 1, sightings have happened all over the globe for many years. These sightings were not all from a very long time ago, though. Most recently, in 2009, people reported seeing a mermaid do tricks in the sea in Haifa Bay in northern Israel. And in 2012, work on 2 reservoirs in Zimbabwe was stopped because the workers said mermaids had scared them away from the sites.
There are a lot fewer sightings of mermaids than there used to be, and there is a very good explanation for that and this piece of evidence. What Columbus actually saw were dugongs, or manatees, which are both types of sea cows. Nobody knew what these creatures were until the late 1700s, and as National Geographic, the Geography and Exploration magazine says, manatees are easily mistaken for humans from a distance due to their forelimbs with 5 sets of finger-like bones and neck vertebrae that let them turn their heads. Manatees also have a flat tail, and their flipper may look like stubby arms, helping them to resemble merpeople. This seems to be especially true when people spot them mostly submerged in the water, with only small parts of their bodies visible from a distance. Of course, it's impossible to prove every mermaid sighting was actually a sea cow, but manatees are found in many of the western and central parts of the world, whilst dugongs are found in the eastern half. So it's very likely they are responsible for people everywhere thinking they were real mermaids.
Sea cows are brilliant, and I'm a bit sad that if that was what Christopher Columbus saw, that he called them all ugly mermaids. That is not nice at all. But as you said, Athena, it's not possible to prove that every mermaid sighting was actually a misidentified swimming sea cow. So that means some of them could have been real mermaids. Especially when you think about piece of evidence number 3.
Third piece of evidence.
The final piece of evidence is that only 5% of the world's oceans have been fully explored. This means there is every chance of mermaids existing somewhere underwater. Did you know that the ocean makes up 71% of the Earth's surface and it's the biggest ecosystem in the world? The 5 main oceans, which are the Pacific, Atlantic, Indian, Arctic and Southern, contain 94% of the world's wildlife and 97% of all its water. But human beings have only managed to chart and explore such a very tiny amount of it. Despite the advanced technology used by oceanographers who are experts in studying the oceans, exploring the deepest parts is challenging. The extreme depths of the ocean make exploration quite tricky, even with sophisticated equipment. So when we really don't know what's in the seas, who's to say there aren't mermaids somewhere in there?
It is amazing that there's still so much about the ocean we don't yet know. And I agree, there must be so much yet to discover. But it's important to distinguish between folklore, mythology, and actual scientific evidence. If mermaids did exist, we'd know about it. By now, someone would have caught them on video or photo if they'd seen a real-life mermaid, wouldn't they?
Maybe the trick is to go out searching for other things, and then you might end up spotting a mythical creature by accident. That's usually how these things work. Skipper, there on the horizon. Can you see it? Is it? Could it be that we finally found it?
It could be, Captain. It could be. I'll scrabble up the crow's nest and take a proper look with a telescope.
Hurry now. We can't miss this opportunity.
Oh, sorry, Captain, but that's not a manatee. It's just another mermaid being all beautiful and glamorous.
Ah, dagnabbit. Once again. All I want to see is one of these fabled sea cows. I have sailed across 3 oceans to spot one, but again and again it's just this other silly nonsense no one cares about. Mermaids schmermaids, where's my sea cow? Skipper, set a course for the Pacific. We will find this cow of the water.
Captain, we've been sailing for days and not seen nothing. Our rations are low. We're going to have to dock soon.
Aghast, Skipper. We are nearly there. I feel it. We can't stop now.
Wait, there, in the distance. Could it be? Captain, look!
Well, I'll be darned. That looks like a whole group of sea cows all swimming together. Finally, my dream has come true. Skipper, climb up that crow's nest and take a look.
Aye, aye, Captain. Oh, Captain! I'm so sorry, Captain.
Oh, no. Not a sea cow?
No, Captain. It's just 14 mermaids and mermen fighting a kraken in a spectacular battle the likes of which human eyes have never witnessed and shall likely never witness again.
Oh, dagnabbit. Every single time. So boring. Turn the ship around. We must head to the Indian Ocean.
But Captain!
No but, Skipper. If we don't survive this journey, then so be it. We aren't docking until we've found my ocean moo-moos. Oh, I think maybe you're right, Skipper. I'm so tired, hungry, and starting to see things. Perhaps this mission has been too much. and we need to head home.
Oh, now, Captain, I'm sure any second now we'll succeed. It's always when you're at your lowest that life has a funny way of turning things around.
Shh, Skipper. There in the shallow waters by that island. Can you see it?
On it, Captain! Captain, I can't believe this, but it's just a huge mermaid party where they're holding up a big invite saying we should join them and they'll feed us and give us all their magical treasure which will bestow us in riches forevermore.
No, not that, Skipper. Turn around. Westwards.
Oh yeah, sorry, Captain. It is a sea cow!
My life is complete. What does it look like through the telescope?
Oh, a bit like a grey toe with whiskers, Captain.
Oh, so stunning, so magical. But we can't. We mustn't hurt something so special, even though I know we are to take evidence back with us. Set sail for home, Skipper, and once there, I'll sew some old grey sheets together and sell it to the museums.
What? Home? You are the most ridiculous captain I've ever served with. Mermaids, don't start the party without me!
Ah, why, thank you, Skipper. I think that's the kindest thing anyone's... Skipper? Skipper! Alas, the burden of keeping the secret of the sea cow is too much for many a mere man. I shall carry it alone. Crew, set sail to the east and just go straight through those mermaids synchronized swimming with giant magical rainbow seahorses and handing out sheer diamond coral and wishes. They'll only damage the hull. Onward! Oh, that's always the way. You never find what you're looking for till you stop and look for something else.
I'm not sure about that. I'm pretty certain our chief detectives will find an answer to this case very quickly. Because when it comes to whether mermaids are real or not, they know Team Buster is right here.
As if. I'm sure they'll paddle straight over to Team Truster. But before they can decide, we need to recap the evidence.
Evidence recap.
The first piece of evidence is the many stories about mermaids that have been told all over the world for thousands of years. They must have all been inspired by something.
But there are many myths about hybrid creatures. That's something that is half human, half something else. So it's not difficult to think that many people thought of a half human, half fish, or that stories were passed on by travellers.
Our second piece of evidence is the many sightings of mermaids all over the world, including famous historical figures such as Roman philosopher Pliny the Elder and explorer Christopher Columbus.
As we look back at stories of mermaid sightings, it turns out that many of these accounts were probably encounters with sea cows. Nowadays, with more accurate information about the sea and its inhabitants, there aren't as many reports of mermaid sightings. It's an example of how scientific knowledge can help unravel mysteries and replace ancient myths with a better understanding of the natural world.
The third piece of evidence is that only 5% of the world's oceans have been explored. Who knows what else might exist down there?
But I'm certain if there were mermaids, someone somewhere would have found out by now with some concrete proof.
So now we're handing it over to you, Chief Detectives.
What do you think? Are you a mermaid mythbuster?
Or a mermaid myth truster? We want to hear from you, and most importantly, which side you're on. This one's definitely a Team Truster win. It's official.
Actually, our chief detectives are so sophisticated that they'll clearly be on Team Buster. Send us your voice notes with an explanation of why you're a myth truster or mythbuster when it comes to whether mermaids exist or not.
All you have to do is ask your grown-ups to help you email us your voice notes or thoughts to hello@bustertrust.com.
Tell us your name, age, what you think all the evidence means, and please make sure your grown-ups give us permission to use your voice notes or emails in our next episode. You can also send us a question on Spotify Q&A, but please get permission from your parents and don't include any personal details so we can publish them safely. We won't always be able to use all of them.
But we do love to hear them, and here are some thoughts from you, our amazing Chief Detectives, on the last few episodes.
We had a comment on a Spotify Q&A after the Flannan Isles episode. Shani Ann Park said amazing and Team Busters are amazing. So it's Team Buster.
I'm not sure. I think she's saying amazing aren't Team Truster amazing. It's definitely what she means. Carrion has left a message about our Flannan Isles episode. Carrion says, Hi, I am Levi. The Trusters is wrong about everything. Sorry, Trusters. And the Mothman, it could be a sandhill crane. I am a buster. Bye. Whoa, Levi, I don't think we're wrong about absolutely everything.
Well, Team Buster is right about everything, so if we're right about everything, doesn't that make Trusters wrong about it? Don't blame me. That's just what it's like being right about everything. The people around you are always wrong.
Find me 3 bits of evidence that say you're right about everything.
Thanks for your questions and comments. You really are the best listeners.
And if you enjoyed the show, please follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify or Amazon Music or wherever you listen to your podcasts for more great episodes.
We love to hear what you think. So please do rate and review us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. It helps more detectives find Bust or Trust. We'll even read out some of the reviews on the show.
Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time for more Bust or Trust.
Please tell me you're done with the fish puns now, Tiernan, please.
I'm sorry, Athena, but there is just one left.
Okay, go on then. Get it over with.
I can't until it's definitely the end of the episode.
Okay. I promise not to say anything else after this.
Great. Finn!
Tiernan.
You promised!